Hello and welcome to Selling Enterprise Grade Networks presentation for CEDIA 2020. My name is Andrew Ward. I'm part of the Access Networks team and I am proud to be here, and it is my honor to present a kind of proprietary collection of slides that are certainly available to every salesperson who wants them. You can reach out to me and get them directly from me at clientservices@accessnetworks.com or directly to my email address at andrew.ward@accessnetworks.com. Let's begin. And this presentation will also be posted on our Vimeo location at our Access Networks Vimeo site. So I'll begin with 2020. CEDIA is, I think, a really kind of a turning point for networking, and I think that each of us could pretty easily agree that 2020 will be a before and after moment for networking. There was kind of, as an example, networking may have represented 8 to 10% of your business in 2019, and we make it through 2020, and in 2021 it might represent 25% of your business. And I really believe that's not an exaggeration. I believe that this kind of before and after event is measurable. Starbucks had a very similar effect. They changed the price of coffee in 1995. A cup of drip coffee was 49 cents. By the time they were done doing what they were doing, it wound up being $3. And so and if you multiply that by millions of cups of coffee, the difference between 49 cents and $3 is dramatic. So that kind of huge market shift is precisely where we are right now with marketing in the CI and integration channel. And so I look forward to getting this presentation underway. It's about 30 minutes, and I will try to make the points as concisely as possible. Hey, there's the entire presentation right there on the screen. All of the bullet points live right here that we will discuss, some in more detail than other, but we'll get right to it. Enterprise-grade networks are more secure. They function based on a higher security protocol. They are built to a 10 times more robust standard. They have a build hurdle that is based on mean time between failure statistics, and I will talk about that. The specs for enterprise-grade hardware are physics-based. They are not hyperbole. So you will never have to talk about chocolatey mid-ranges or any kind of nuanced effect. It's all physics-based, actualized, provable specifications. And on I think the most exciting point for me is that enterprise-grade networks are more adaptable, expandable, and capable. And what that means is you're not selling something that's obsolete and not soon to be obsolete either. And obsolete's a dangerous word. A buddy of mine that works at Microsoft here in town makes a funny joke that everybody asks him, what laptop should I buy? And his funny response every time is, it doesn't really matter, because if you can touch it, literally if you can go into the store and touch it, it's obsolete. So I think that if you ponder that for a moment, that you might sense the reality of that. And for those of us that are selling kind of dead-end network hardware that is already in effect obsolete, we need to be kind of re-up our game. And I think part of this presentation is designed specifically around that aspect. And we'll work on that, giving you the bullet points and the information you need so that you can refine your pitch. Every one of these slides is designed for you to client face, and so each one of them can be presented directly to the client. The fourth or fifth bullet point there is 100% accessibility for full performance. I'll explain what that means, but when we buy performance gear, and particularly when our clients buy performance gear, there are examples where that performance gear is not available to them. They've purchased it, but it's snowing, right? I can't use my Ducati in the snow. And that would be just an example of performance being unavailable to you on a performance purchase. That I will get into great detail on how that applies to this product. And then also there's no mythological pricing structure for our gear. Nobody knows anything about networking hardware as far as consumers are concerned. The only company they may have ever heard of is Cisco. And if you were to press them, they might not even be able to tell you exactly what Cisco is. So effectively slide one, bullet point one is enterprise grade networks are more secure. I liked this slide because it's got a lot of lingo and language on it that is, to the average consumer, is really nonsensical. And it just identifies to them that they don't really know what a firewall does. Even if they think they do, they don't, right? That we need to be able to present to them that there is an element to this. Not all of this is going to make sense. Some of it is, some of it is not, but we need to be comfortable with the concept that an enterprise grade network provides a higher security level for us, and that kind of future thinking is really applicable today, where security threats are becoming more and more clever. So a consumer grade firewall that is behind the curve is probably a bad idea on a long-term play. Sophos enterprise grade firewalls are continually, moment by moment, every day, every hour, every minute, they are updated based on all of the other Sophos firewalls, threat detections that are then sent up to the cloud and then down to all of the other units. So they are continually all updating each other and threat detecting each other and creating a very deep infrastructure of security with a very live, interactive support. So this is, I think, critical to understand and to make that bullet point a selling feature. And I have a 1 hour version of this presentation where I can talk about and give you examples of what a Sophos unit would do in a live situation to protect you. But know that enterprise grade firewalls are ahead of the curve and are well aware, and they share threat detections amongst themselves. This is an important point. The other thing that I think is critical to understand, that sounds like hyperbole, it sounds like some kind of wild statistical nonsense, is that the gear is built to a 10 times higher manufacturing hurdle. Now, this is really important. 10,000 hours is, I've worked for 4 different manufacturers directly as an employee, and there are build hurdles for the bill of material that if you want to be able to plug a device in North America, if you want it to be UL rated and CE rated for Europe, you have to have a bill of materials that passes a minimum stress test of 10,000 hours before the device has any kind of a failure. This is called MTBF, mean time between failure. Sometimes they will say mean time between initial failure, depending on how they're measuring it. All of this is very easily researched on the internet. There's a lot of really complicated math associated, which for some of our clients can be very exciting. If they are geeky or nerdy about that, it's a really cool thing to provide for them. But the simplest way to relay it is right here. Standard consumer gear is 10,000 hours is the hurdle. So for like a television, a flat panel, if you factor 4 hours a day, that's about 7 to 9 years of regular use. However, if you flip that a little bit and you go 24 hours a day, that device is used, then the 10,000 hours isn't that long. It's 13 and a half months. And so 10,000 hours for consumer gear like a coffee maker or a television is perfectly suitable. 10,000 hour build criteria for consumer networking gear is about 13 months. So we really need to be aware of kind of what the build criteria is for the hardware that we're supplying. And if you look at the math here, it's pretty easy to understand. I don't need to read this slide to you. You can see it and tell. The percentages are quite stunning when you talk about adding up 8 or 12 pieces of network gear in one deployment and what that math would look like. The other thing I like to throw out there is for our clients to understand the concept of everything is literally on the network. Video, lights, shades, music, automation, security, everything related to entertainment, everything related to personal interaction, everything related to communicating with their friends and family, it's all basically on the network. The, the way that I like to present this to them that makes kind of a more dramatic impact is I like to share with them that there is no category of thing that is not presently available within a Wi-Fi option, or the next revision of that thing will include a Wi-Fi option. Think about a category of things, right? Just a couple, anything. And when I say thing, I mean, I'm talking about the Internet of Things. I'm talking all the things, right? Think about what category isn't going to have Wi-Fi, right? Obviously workout equipment, obviously automobiles, obviously toys, obviously lights, shades, music, automation, security. We're talking everything in the kitchen has a Wi-Fi option. I mean everything. Everything in the bedroom has a Wi-Fi option on it. Obviously, because that can be a distant location from the rest of the home, right? So there's every category of the modern home, every location of the modern home, all the stuff in the garage has Wi-Fi applications related to it. It's just in every category, it's coming. So there's no place to hide. The network is going to get stressed more and more. And that is the correct, that's not fear-based selling. The network is going to get stressed more and more. The MIT study is real. In 2005, the study showed that the number of things connected to the internet on planet Earth doubled every 24 months. And when they revisited that math in 2017, so just 3 or 4 years ago, they checked their math again, and it was still on pace to approximately doubling every 24 months. That is a significant point worth understanding. This is more than a trend. It is a cavalcade. It is an avalanche happening on the internet. So our internet, again, the point is that our internet, the network that we build for our clients needs to be keep that very strongly in mind. If your client then says to you, okay, so what is this network that you're proposing to me? What does it consist of? What am I buying? You're buying a Helix Live monitoring appliance, a Sophos enterprise-grade firewall, a wireless control. Right, what are these things? So rather than just blathering about them, I felt that it was important to present them with kind of catchy, entertaining descriptions of what they do. But there's more to it than this. The Helix Live monitoring device, this for you to understand is very important. It is not a packet sniffing box. It's not going to rat out your client on where they go on the internet. That's not what it does. What it is very much more like a mechanic. It makes sure that everything is connected and working to spec, right? Everything's connected, and in a case of an enterprise grade network, it's everything's staying connected and everything's running really fast. That's what its job is. That's what we use it to research when we monitor these networks. We aren't concerned, but the mechanic doesn't tell you to wear your seatbelt and he doesn't tell you where to drive. Neither do we. The enterprise grade firewall we already discussed is a live, it's almost a living, breathing device in that it is moment by moment updating and communicating with its cloud infrastructure, where it is continually updating its threat detections. This is a very cool strategic product that provides a huge advantage in security. The next is the wireless controller, and the guys at Lucas Sales came up with this one. They like to call it the air traffic controller, if you will, which I think is very appropriate, and I appreciate and have stolen that. 2 points for you guys. And that's a great way to describe it. The enterprise grade switches are very robust, extremely upgradable for long-term application. You can continually expand on them. And then of course the Wi-Fi access points that we are famous for is a huge advantage over standard consumer style access points. Next, if we're going to build an argument And I'm not implying that selling an enterprise grade network to your client should be an argument, but it is. We need to prepare as though we are defending holy ground, because everything that you do after you install the network for your client was going to sit on that network and depend on that network. So if you undersell the network, you're going to be chasing your tail. So now, of course, I could load each one of these bullet points one at a time to strengthen my argument as I'm presenting this, but really it just comes down to this. It's just this. It's everything versus initial cost. That's it. The only disadvantage to an enterprise grade network solution where you're from end to end, it's an enterprise grade hardware stacked. The only disadvantage is the upfront cost. That's it. We need to be able to hurdle that by systematically building a case for why this is important. These points, you need to be comfortable speaking about each one of these points, because your customer is going to be really comfortable talking about that initial cost, right? They're going to focus on that. Potentially, you need to be able to explain that very clearly using the appropriate bullet point. Another way to do this is with this slide, and this slide I developed in conjunction with Ben Grass at Zone Pacific Sales in San Francisco. He helped me. Well, I think we were debating one day network selling, and we were probably stuck in traffic or something. And it was the whole college debate, classic inverted triangle. And the classic inverted triangle is ever ascending difficulties of hurdles for the person you're debating, the team you are debating, to make their most important point. For every debate, there is the most important point. No matter what the debate is, there's the key log jam, it's called. The key log is if there was a log jam on a river where they were, storing lumber and they were trying to get it to go downstream, they call the key log the one log you can pull out that releases the entire stream full of logs. There are games built around this. Jenga and other games have a very similar concept. So the key point, but if I construct my side of the argument to make that point ever more irrelevant or ever more harder to make by strategically placing each one of my points as an obstruction, right? That is the basis of this slide. It's a way to think about a problem. Now you can modify this slide however you want. 3,000 and 8,000, you could make it 5,000 and 15,000. You could make it 6,000 and 24,000. Whatever the two kind of price differences, if you were, I don't know if this is a 5,000 square foot house or a 25,000 square foot house. The number for the network will change dramatically. So the prices here are really irrelevant. It's the concept that we're working with. And the concept is upfront dollars is my biggest hurdle. It's the easiest thing to sell the less expensive network, right? The next one is I have to organize my sales process. If I'm going to get over that largest hurdle, I need to organize my sales presentation in such a manner I am prepared to discuss the advantages of my concept. Next, and this is the single biggest stumbling block, I can argue my future risks are reduced. The client's future risks are reduced. Future expectations from the client remain unchanged no matter what I sell them. If I sell my customer a $3,000 network or a $30,000 network, their expectations of its performance are identical. In other words, they expect it to work a year from now, 3 years from now. So we better be very prepared, because if we undersell our client, that will likely not change their expectations of its performance. If we let them get away with underbuying, we own that problem, because their expectations are they bought what they needed. It's you are the problem, right? That is a huge point that we need to sink in on. If I undersell the network, I own that. We need to make sure that we get, because of the concept, the final concept of support over time, right? Future expectations and support over time, right? This is the classic inverted triangle in debate, right? My job's harder up front, their disappointment is larger at the end. We need to make sure we flipped the scales on this so that we are approaching this in a way where we are solving a problem, not selling or making a problem. It may sound easy laid out like this, but boy, do we have a lot of people that are stuck in this scenario. We need to be able to move past it. The next one is this, and we're almost done. There's just a few minutes left of the presentation. This is very important to understand as well. Viking, this particular range is $25,000. The beauty of that is it's a very popular range and it sells they do very well with it. And we need to understand that ranges start at 600 bucks, 500 bucks. And they go, at Home Depot, as an example, or Lowe's or whatever, you can buy a range from $600 to $2,500. And the $2,500 one, they might tell you is a very high quality one. And the manufacturer would even identify it on their website as a very good one and one of their better products. And it's 10 times less expensive than this. So this is 10 times more expensive than what is easily identifiable as a quality product. That requires some mythology. You only get 10 times price on something if you've done the work. They've done the work. For decades, Viking has made better gear. And now they can charge whatever they want. But here's the point on how you get there. You get there by making your product a little bit better in every category. A chef would tell you, could line list and check every box that this thing does that's better than the $2,500 range that we all would consider high quality. He could tell you everything, he or she could tell you everything that this thing does that's better. In some cases, it would be a little bit better. In some cases, it would be a lot better. In some cases, it would be dramatically better. But in every category, it's better. So you do that for 20 years, for 40 years, for 50 years, you build a mythology behind your brand. Now you can charge whatever you want. This is an important learning point for us. You don't get there accidentally. You get there through hard work. Or you do it the way Ferrari did it, and you do it by providing one less automobile than the market demands, right? I think that's a direct quote from them. So restricted availability or overbuilding the hell out of something so it's so much better than everything else that over time you're just the notable expert. Now here's the beauty of this. In our world, what we're selling, there is no mythology. The only brand they're going to know that we sell might be Cisco. And then, like I said, if you pressed them, they really probably couldn't tell you exactly what Cisco did. Right? So we're selling them some stuff that's going to sit in a rack in the basement that they're never going to look at. So it's going to be really hard to get this kind of money for a network, right? 10 times. So typically an enterprise grade network is about 3 times more expensive than a high quality competitive network. That's an important thing to understand. It's not 10 times more expensive than a high quality competitor. It's 3 times. Now it's 10 times more expensive than Eero or Orbi or some little widget I set down on the table. But if your client thinks that they need that, if your client believes that they can build a modern home with lights, shades, security, and a variety of smart applications on a bunch of Orbeez, we have all failed. At the very least, our client needs to be considering what would be considered a quality network by any standard. And then we need to take them to the next level and explain to them why they actually do need something better than your average quality network. That is an important double hurdle for us to get past. If we're talking about Orbi as competing with an enterprise grade network, that's like Ferrari talking about a soapbox. Like I can put an axle on a bathtub and roll, for $400. Okay, so if that's the argument, if we cannot let it devolve to that, a modern home needs to have at least a high quality network at the very least, based on all of the information that we've provided up to this point. So we do need to structure our presentation to our clients in such a manner that we tell them security is an issue, the robust nature of the hardware is critical, the stuff does exactly as advertised, it's all physics-based hardware, it's all based in reality, it's all tested, it's more adaptable, expandable, and reliable. If your client, 1 year after you install the network, wants to do a bunch of fancy stuff on that network, and you undersold them, like we showed already, and their future expectations of performance based on this price and this price are identical. The risk is the only difference when you undersell. You need to make sure that your client understands the risks of what they're doing if they are not prepared to install the proper network for their home. And these things can all be explained as far as and I think the final note, and I'm almost done, is accessibility is a huge part of this, right? If they need to understand what a network really is, it's the thing that they're going to use every day. It is literally the thing that there's just no way around that. They're going to use it every day. They are going to use it every day. That must be announced to them. And everything in that house, virtually every category of thing in that house is going to sit on that network. So the fact that they can use it to its highest performance characteristics, that it is a performance-based purchase, and that it needs to be built properly, this is critical. We would argue that you can sell networks based on these 6 fundamental points, and it is my pleasure to give you a longer presentation and suss these out further, but we will suffice to know that this is enough to get the ball rolling. Please check out our Vimeo page and our CEDIA 2020 site. And if you have any questions, you can reach me directly at andrew.ward@Access Networks or client-services@Access Networks. Thank you very much. And that is the end of the presentation.